If the plan goes south, we're gonna bring in the big guns.
But that's not... Those are very big guns. You've got a team here.
Superman can bring this team together better than I ever could. His strength...
Doesn't matter how strong you are, or what abilities you might have.
He's more human than I am.
With the Snyder Cut of Justice League coming out on March 18th, I wanted to take this chance to kind of go back and look at Justice League 2017. The theatrical cut, I guess is what we'll call it. Since that one's a Snyder Cut, right? And it's going to have everything that he did. This will kind of be the theatrical cut. So it was directed by Zack Snyder, mostly. The studio ended up bringing Joss Whedon in. If you're unfamiliar with the story, Zack Snyder and his wife had kind of an emergency family thing. So they left before filming was done, and Warner Brothers brought in Joss Whedon to kind of finish and then change a lot of stuff. This movie sees Batman in the aftermath of Superman's death trying to put this team together to stop this invasion, right? And the team may not be enough. It's about a 2-hour runtime, pretty entertaining. Is it like this end-all be-all superhero movie? Well, no, it's not. This movie began as like a 3.5 to 4 hour just epic movie. I think Zack Snyder's original plan was to film it in 2 parts, and then Warner Brothers kind of got involved and said no. This movie needs to be low because we've heard some people complain about our runtimes and our movies, so they pushed like crazy to have this movie under 2 hours. And so that's what they ended up getting. They brought in Joss Whedon to do some reshoots. That's where we end up getting that Henry Cavill horrible CGI big upper lip. They had to go in and digitally remove his mustache. He was filming the Mission Impossible movie already, and Paramount wouldn't let him shave it for the reshoots. So they spent $20 million to go in there and digitally remove it, and I don't think they got their money's worth. I think what they were trying to do with that scene, though, is kind of start the movie off with some hope. Because the last one we had, Batman vs. Superman died. Right? So there's like nothing to kind of look forward to. You've got Batman, just a rich guy in a suit, kind of like Iron Man, trying to put this team together. I think the scene that the movie starts with after that Superman scene is really where the film should have actually started. It brings in just this kind of the tone. It lets you know this is how you need to be watching this movie. Because imagine if we got that scene. Right? There is no Superman scene with the big fat lip. We open with Batman getting that thief, tying him up, hanging him off the roof in order to introduce fear, right? So he can have that parademon come in. That scene right there just sets the stage for this movie. We're talking just beaten down in the gutters because Superman's gone, right? Everybody knows this. In that same scene, there's a part at the end of it where the thief is actually tied up and he's kind of hopping along saying they know he's dead. That's why they're here. That was kind of inserted in by Whedon. I don't know if Warner Brothers wanted that or what, but that piece of dialogue wasn't needed because right after that, we open with the song Everybody Knows. And it's just scene after scene of just everybody being just sorrowful and melancholic about Superman being dead. But we got it. So moving on. The Batman scenes and the Wonder Woman scenes, man, they felt organic. Like, they were really needed. The Aquaman scenes, the Flash scenes, a lot of the Cyborg stuff, it just felt forced. It just felt like, hey, we got to put these characters in a movie, just hurry up and get them in there. I mean, they rushed Aquaman so much, they gave him the armor and the trident, and then later on had to give him the origin story of how he even got it. So did all that stuff from the origin happen in that? I don't think so. I mean, he had to go and get that stuff in the Aquaman movie. So he had kind of facsimile, like, hey, let me borrow this armor and let me borrow this trident that does this stuff. And then the movie, I'll actually go and get the real trident, right? Flash, same thing. We don't really know how he got his powers. And most people, if you follow Flash, you know that he got his powers from working in the crime lab, and he's struck by lightning, and kind of the lightning mixed with chemicals and stuff like that gives him that super speed. But in this movie, he's not working in the crime lab. So how did he get his powers? We know he got struck by lightning. So is that kind of what they're doing? He gets the powers before he goes to the crime lab. It looks like that's the way they're going. Cyborg's origin kind of comes in the way that most people from The New 52 comics remember him getting his powers. His dad kind of hooks him up to that mother box, and he ends up getting infused with this hardware. Overall, I liked the movie. I thought it was entertaining. Is it a perfect movie? No, of course not. Is it worth watching? I think yes, definitely. If for no other reason, just to see the difference in directing styles, because like I said, we've got the Snyder Cut coming out on March 18th, and so we kind of got a Frankenstein of Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder just kind of pushed together, along with a lot of Warner Brothers meddling. So it'll be interesting to see what the differences are, plus the fact that Snyder threw in 2 extra hours of movie that he supposedly shot, and Warner Brothers just axed it down to 2 hours. So, like I said, it'll be interesting to see this, and comes out March 18th. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. One of the things that I always wonder when I'm watching films like this is, can I watch it with my kid? So I figured, you know what? Why not add a segment to the show? Can I watch it with my kid? With this movie, I guess a lot of it depends on the emotional maturity of your kid. The movie's PG-13, so obviously it's saying, hey, parental guidance for any child that's not at least 13 years old. There's a lot of scary sequences, so I guess it kind of depends on how your child handles a lot of these types of things. I would probably lean towards any child under the age of 8. It might be a little too frightening for them. Again, your results may vary. If your kid has been following comic books a lot, then they're going to kind of be used to a lot of this stuff already, and so it'll be a little easier to explain. They may still find it frightening, but be able to process it a little better. Of course, if you're over the age of maybe 11 or 12, I think it's kind of fair game for there. Now, the Snyder Cut is actually supposed to be rated R. It's also supposed to kind of dial up on the frightening scenes. Steppenwolf CGI was watered down heavily by Warner Brothers, and so they're going to actually put him into the more nightmarish CGI that Zack Snyder originally had planned. And then, of course, Darkseid's supposed to make an appearance in this movie, and I think he's probably going to be a little scary too. So, again, that movie's supposed to be rated R. So, again, you might want to watch it first, but with a 4-hour runtime, I think the only difference is just kind of intense. Maybe some language. I'm not sure, because obviously it hasn't come out yet. But ultimately, I would kind of look at maybe around the age of 10 or 11 might be safe for your kid to watch it. Anything younger than that, it might be a little scary for them. But again, it just depends on how they're able to process these kind of images. Well, that does it. If you liked the movie, or maybe you learned something you didn't know, go ahead and hit that like button. And then let me know in the comments if you actually like this movie. Imagine if we started this movie with the Batman scene, and it's just punching us over and over with no hope, no hope, no hope. And then about halfway through the film, that changes. Man, I mean, we are really brought along as an audience with the characters. I feel like the heroes in the movie, we're slowly losing hope. Like, are we going to actually be able to do this? And we're along for that ride. The problem is this movie started off with that Superman sequence that, kind of set us up. Hey, this is how you're supposed to watch the movie. There's always hope. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but let us feel that organically. Let us go along on that journey with the heroes, because, I mean, you could feel it, man. When Superman comes back, you're like, oh my God, they might actually do this, and that's an exciting feeling. The problem is they ruined it with that minute scene at the beginning. I mean, if you cut that out, we're right along there with this dystopian view of what's going to happen. And then, bam, here we are. We have hope. Like, oh my gosh, are they going to do it? And then Superman leaves, and you're like, oh my gosh, here we are, going to face off against Steppenwolf, hoping we can do this. And then Soup shows up. That's amazing, man. Could you imagine if we got that? That would have saved the whole movie. Well, maybe not saved, but it definitely would have brought it higher than kind of where it is.